Welcome to the Author Alchemist podcast. I'm here to make your writing magic happen. I'm going to teach you how to use your superpowers to ignite, inspire, and encourage your creativity so that you can turn lead into gold. Join me, Kimber York, as I delve into the many mysteries of inspiration, motivation, and imagination. Good morning, or at least it's morning when I'm recording this, the 15th episode of the Author Alchemist podcast. And you will probably hear my dog snoring in the background as she is asleep on her little throne chair right next to me here at my desk where she likes to hang out. Thanks for coming back to join me for another episode. And this time we're going to dive into a topic that I think most authors can probably relate to pretty well, which is shit happens. I mean, doesn't it? Every day it happens. But this particular topic is, of course, about writing, specifically about what it means when shit happens when we're trying to write or trying to stick to a writing schedule or stick to deadlines and all those fun things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So I'm going to go back in time a little bit here to mid-2017, which is now a year and a half ago. Time flies, my friends. Whew. Hang on tight to that broomstick because we're just flying through time. And in June 2017, I stopped writing. Dead stop, in the water, no word count, no progress, no plotting, no background, backstory, character development work. I did nothing. It just came to a screeching halt. This was about mid-June, I think. I could probably go back and get you the exact date even if I wanted to, but I really don't. And the interesting thing here is that nothing traumatic happened that month. There was no reason that I could point to specifically and say, aha, that there is the foul villain which caused me to stop writing. If there is a foul villain in this particular story, it would be the ubiquitous shit happens. For me, personally, it wasn't depression. It wasn't a physical ailment or a chronic illness. And those things definitely fall under the shit happens umbrella. I have been clinically depressed in the past. I'm pretty familiar with the symptoms, at least how they manifest in my life. And this was not that for me in this case. It might be for you if you stop writing suddenly and without warning. Could be a lot of different things. In June of 2017, what hit me like a truck was anxiety issues based around some ongoing psychological problems connected to complex PTSD, which is a long way of going around to say I was scared of being seen. I was uncomfortable with my identity as a person and what that said about me as a writer. I had started the year of 2017 with some pretty grandiose plans regarding my writing career. I did a pretty impressive daily word count through the first half of that year and self-published a couple of books and made plans to have one of my romance novels rewritten and re-released by my romance novel publisher. And that all fell apart. It might fall under the umbrella of I was scared of success. I don't think that's wrong, but it also is not the full picture. And what I want to get at here and relate to you as a writer is that it's always something. We do not need to be ashamed of that, and we do not need to be ashamed of how it affects us. For me, the solutions were centered on therapy. I started EMDR therapy back in late 2015, and it had proven to be very effective in dealing with a lot of my complex grief issues and my other issues around my PTSD. And if I did have to point at something that caused me to stop writing, it would ironically be the same thing that caused me to pick up the writing again almost a year later, which was therapy. Yeah, it's good and bad, folks. But the point of it is not to derail you, but to get you back on the rails. So when I talk about how therapy and the issues that we were exploring, especially with EMDR therapy, which is a uniquely intense kind of therapy. I highly recommend it, but you really have to be motivated to work through your problems. This is not your regular talk therapy that can just go on endlessly. It's really a focused type of therapy that will dig into your psyche in a lot of different and uncomfortable ways. I was ready for that, and because I was ready for that and worked through that through most of 2016, going into 2017, what happened, I think, now in retrospect, is that I had dug down deep enough that I had hit some really core issues and was unprepared to deal with them. So what did I do when I stopped writing? Well, it says it right there on the tin. I stopped writing. I felt terrible about that, and I felt guilty about that. And because I had plans on trying to make money off of my writing, I was scared about not writing and not making that money. A lot of fear-based things going on, I'm sure you can tell. Okay, so I didn't want to be seen, and that translated into the idea that if I did finish these writing projects and they did get published, I would be held responsible for having written these things. And that was terrifying enough that it completely threw me into a tailspin. What got me out of that tailspin was, of course, therapy and journaling and easing back into my goals, a lot of responsible adulting type of things. But what I want to stress here is not the specific solution I found to my problems, but that solutions exist. Solutions can include prescription medications. I've been on Lexapro in the past for anxiety, and my mother, who suffered from bipolar disorder, was on Prozac and then Zoloft, which incredibly, surprisingly, after years of nothing ever working, really gave her her life back, gave her her brain back. Unfortunately, a few years before she died, but there was hope there for a while, and that was something meds and therapy and prayer and whatever else she had tried over the years had never given her before. So I'm a big believer in that solutions are a wide spectrum of choices that we have available to us, which can include meds, can include therapy, can include yoga, can include exercise, can include getting a dog. So there's just a wide variety of ways that we can approach these kinds of problems. And these kinds of problems hit us all. Like I said, I'm a professionally published author. I've had books published regularly since 2011. I have also, during that time, written over 1 million words of fan fiction. I write a lot. But that doesn't mean I'm immune to the effects of my psychological well-being or my health, politics. Yeah, looking at you, 2018. And the other aspects that can all play into our ongoing mental health and our ability to write. If you're not writing right now, then I urge you to examine why, but also to not beat yourself up over it. Shit does happen to the best of us, to the most prolific of us, to the most dedicated of us, to those of us who have sworn up and down that we will never allow anything to interfere with our writing. Guess what? Sometimes things interfere with our writing. That's okay. As long as we're dealing with our life in a straightforward, honest way, with a willingness to resolve the problems that do appear in front of us, then we're going to be fine. The old Churchill quote, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going, is one of the primary rules that I live by, because I've been through a lot of hell. Worse than some other have experienced, not as bad as some as well, but certainly my version of hell. And I'm here to tell about it. I'm here to support you as you go through your version of hell. When you're not writing and you're crying because you're not writing and you want to write, but you just can't make yourself do it. It's okay. I've been there. And when you're there, acknowledge your successes. One of the ways I keep going through hell, through the times that I'm not writing, is to force myself, and there's a lot of forcing involved. It's certainly not, something that comes to me naturally. No, not in the least. But acknowledge our successes. For me, especially when I was suffering from clinical depression, those successes could be brushing my teeth in the morning, going to my job in order to keep paying the bills. For you, it might be getting your kids dressed and out the door so they can get to school on time. It could be putting on shoes before you take the dog for a walk. It could be taking the dog for a walk with or without shoes. Whatever those moments are in time where you have accomplished something that you could very easily have just left undone, no matter what the consequences are, then those are your successes. And counting those up and understanding that those are as much a part of who you are as anything that's gone wrong lately will help you keep going through hell and help you get back to the point where you can start writing again. I also encourage you to find help. I found help through therapy. I know some people have had bad experiences with therapists, so I'm not going to say that that's the only solution open to you. I think it's a valuable one, but you can go to friends or family, or if those are closed off to you for whatever reason, a mentor, a religious leader, a spiritual guide, a teacher. Find online forums that are full of people who are dealing with similar problems or have dealt with similar problems in the past and can give you advice or just support. I remember one of the things that really helped me during that period was a subreddit called Raised by Narcissists. It really opened my eyes to the effects of some of the things I dealt with in my childhood and allowed me to live vicariously through others who had resolved their problems in a way that helped them move on. I learned a lot from that subreddit, and I know Reddit has a very poor reputation with a lot of people, but let me tell you, wherever you find the right group for you, that is where you belong. And whatever reputation the site itself may have in the greater internet world is immaterial to your mental health. In other words, screw them. If it's helping you, then that's good enough. Furthermore, I got back to writing. I finished the rewrite on that novel for my publisher and resubmitted it to him earlier this year, so it'll be released in February. And I finished up a couple of fan fictions that I had left hanging, although I still have a few more that are left hanging, but we'll get to those, I promise. And I started a couple of books, and I made progress on a couple of more books, and I am now back up to writing 2,000, 3,000 words a day. My total writing count for 2018 is much lower than I would normally be proud of, but it is also much higher than nothing. If you spread it all out, it would be, I would say, about a year of not writing. I went from not writing in June 2017 to starting up to writing again in June of 2018. So yeah, pretty much a year. It was hard, and I felt a lot of shame and embarrassment about not writing because, heck, aren't I a writer? Aren't I a professionally published author? Don't I have millions of words under my belt? I do, and I still stopped writing. Shit happens. Behind those problems, though, my creativity never left me. I hate that phrase. I really do. It's like, oh, my creativity left me. I don't have any creativity. No. That's not how it works. Creativity is always there. Creativity always is in you. Whether you can access it or whether you are able to manifest the things that your creativity is urging you to accomplish, well, there are a lot of factors and variables that can play into that. Mental health, physical health, family dynamics, romantic relationships, good and bad. Yes, being able to produce something creative is completely separate from whether you yourself are a creative person and whether your creativity is still in existence. Because it is. It is there. It is waiting for the bad times to recede. It is waiting for you to solve the problems that you can solve. It is waiting for you to find the right combination of meds and therapy and relationships and day jobs and financial stability and whatever it is that you need to do in order to get back to connecting with the creativity that is always lurking inside you, ready and waiting. You will write again. If you stop, or if you have stopped, if you are currently in a stalled state, believe this, because I've been there, I've been through it multiple times at this point, because wow, shit really does happen. You will write again. I promise. You will. So the alchemy lesson for this episode is, I'm sure you figured it out by now, shit happens, life gets in the way. That's not a personal failing. Believe in yourself when you can. Do the work when you can. And get back to your goals step by step. Because I believe in you, and I know that you can create the things you want to create and write the stories you love to read. All right, that was my motivational episode and talking about my personal crises and all that kind of fun stuff. It's a story, isn't it? We all have the stories, though. Me, you, everybody. It's just endemic to being human, I think. Please, if you gained something from this episode, jog on over to my website and sign up for my email list. You will get the free email course, Bulletproof Writer. I get great feedback on that. People find that it's really helping them focus and distill down the parts they need to get aligned in order to sit their butts in the chair and start writing. And that always makes me happy because more people writing means more stories for the world to share, and that's what I love. If you are on iTunes, please rate this show and, kind of rate it well. I feel awkward asking for 5 stars all the time, but that's what's going to help this show get in front of more people. And that's what I would love as well, is to help writers all over the world. So thanks for listening. And we're going to be back next week, of course, with another episode. But in the meantime, have a great, productive week full of inspiration, motivation, and creativity. Talk to y'all later. Thank you for listening to the Author Alchemist podcast. I'm Kimbu York, and I hope this episode has helped to clear away the cobwebs from your inspiration and given you the power to write the stories you want to read. Now, it's time for us to get some writing done. Talk to y'all soon.